I am thrilled to bring to this stage tonight, live from the New York Public Library, the great Keith Richards.
Always burn a hole in my pants. Never gives a storm on a happy baby. Always do a second chance. I need love, keep me
Oh, we haven't even said anything yet.
No.
Yeah. Well, Keith, of course, it's such a delight to have you here. I remember the first time I interviewed you, I was asking about how really the world had changed since the Rolling Stones had started out, and if you had some sense about the things that made the biggest impression on you. And the thing that you said really surprised me, because the first thing you said was, "Nobody reads anymore." And I wanted to, since we're in the library here, I wonder if you could talk about your own love of books, your own, you have great libraries yourself, and what reading meant to you when you were a kid.
Sure. Dartford Public Library, I mean, it was nothing like this, believe me. To me, I don't know, it was a place where you got a sort of hint that maybe there was a thing called civilization. It was the only place around where I willingly would obey the rules, like silence, please. I tiptoe like the best of them, man. And I think it was that sort of different space that is. It's there for everybody. I mean, I still owe fines from about 50 years ago. Astronomical by now, I should think. But it was somewhere where I could find out things I wanted to find out about. That you weren't necessarily being taught at school. And you just get a certain interest in something, and you say, well, I know where to go to find out a bit more about this, and it would be, the library, And I don't know, in England, all public libraries actually, I think, were designed and built by the same guy. Any town, but you knew where you were, just because there was the library. And it was always like the center of things, and so it should be, I mean, you're not keeping all these books for nothing, are they?
No, not at all. And now yours is among them.
Yeah, so that's a first for me.
And hopefully not the last.
Volume 2 is in the works.
Very good. Well, you've written very eloquently in the book about, growing up in England after the war and a kind of childhood that I think is different from the childhood that even many Americans who went through World War II had. I wonder if you could talk about, just what the atmosphere was like, what your childhood was like a little bit, and what are your kind of most compelling memories of that.
Growing up is, it was, basically we were a bit on the front line. There was, rubble everywhere. And if there was a building left, fantastic. But at the same time, being so young, I was not aware that there was any other world apart from, bombed out ruins. To me, it's perfectly natural. It's only slowly I realized that this was not supposed to be the normal state of things, that things were supposed to be more normal, whatever that is. And it gave you a sense of thinking that there must be something else. To my generation, I think, that this wasn't normal, and that we'd better get on with it and over it. And to me, of course, at my age, rock and roll was turned the world from black and white into Technicolor. just like that. And suddenly everything became possible.
Can you talk about some of the first things you heard and the kind of impact it had on you, and what you heard in that music?
I heard exuberance, a sort of new, a potential new way of looking at things, or at least listening to things. I think maybe a lot of it is generational, because of the guys that were doing it in America, after we were listening to American music, and that was basically our lifeline in those days. You can ask the Beatles or, you know, the Stones and any other English rock and rollers from my generation, is that sense of there's something happening and you just want to be part of it, you know, and you jumped in with both feet. At least I did.
No, you talked about hearing music in your family, you know, your grandfather in particular, your mother, of course. You know, talk about the kind of music that you encountered from them and what your use for that was emotionally.
Basically, I've got to say, and what America maybe should realize more about itself, that the last century or two have been, the rest of the world has been fascinated by American music. Maybe because there are so many different cultures arriving here and learning how to integrate, and cross-section ideas are coming across from different cultures, which you didn't have in Europe. We had the polka, with the odd waltz, you know. But American music had. I mean, my mother, I listened growing to American music, jazz basically, you know, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald. So I've been brought up on American music without even knowing it. I can't really say strong enough. I mean, even the Nazis had jazz bands, you know, can you believe this? You know? The force and power of American music has probably been the most sort of underrated or unrecognized forces that have come out of this country. You know? And I couldn't wait to get here. And I haven't left since, really.
Well, one day at a train station, there's a fabulous letter in your book. You ran into another lover of American music. His name was Mick Jagger. He's carrying a couple of records. Chuck Berry, I believe, maybe Muddy Waters.
Was.
Talk about that meeting and what it meant for you, even at the time.
At the time, I had a certain recognition suddenly between Mick and myself in that railway carriage. You know, what a few years had done, and that something had brought us to a point of burning interest, which was basically the blues, you know, and rock and roll thrown in, because it's very hard to pull those two apart. You can't take the blues out of any American music. It's there. I think it was kind of a shock, and suddenly that we were both into this music at the same time. And the fact that we should just happen to meet again out of nowhere became... Also, I wanted to steal the records if I could get away with it. And so from there on, it went on, you know. I said, oh, where did you get those records? And he said, Chicago. And, blah, blah, blah. And so we started from there, and I've been trying to steal his records ever since.
You know, in times that I've interviewed, you know, people like Willie Dixon or, you know, John Lee Hooker, you know, they were astonished that young white guys and women in England knew their music. You know, they were so used to essentially being completely unknown, you know, to the vast majority of white people here. I was wondering what you heard in that music. You know, what was it that was there that spoke to you so powerfully, even though, you know, culturally, you know, your circumstances were so different?
I think there's the force, the drive, and this other way of looking at music. I mean, suddenly you're not listening to I'm a pink toothbrush, you're a blue toothbrush. I mean, these guys are singing about life, you know. And,
to coin a phrase.
yeah. And sure, that was a heavy-duty lift of like where music could affect people and the power of it. And I think that those guys, to us, sort of opened, the scales fell, you know, and suddenly you knew exactly what it is you wanted to do. And also the joy of being able to translate that back into America and back to those guys. You know, there's a sort of circle happened. Why English guys suddenly need to teach Americans about the blues. Now, that's a kind of something I've never been able to figure out. But anyway, it grabbed us, and all we wanted to do was to grab other people with it, and to be able to sort of meet Muddy, John Lee Hooker. My first tour was Bo Diddley, you know, and just to be able to exchange ideas about music and the power that it actually can have over people, used correctly.
Of course, only as prescribed. If you could talk about, say, meeting some of those guys, you know, what were your impressions of those? You know, everyone, you know, I mean, the first time I met you, I mean, it was amazing to me, you know, being such a fan. And, you know, meeting your heroes can be a tricky business sometimes. I wonder if you could talk about the first time you met Bo Diddley or Muddy Waters or John Lee Hooker.
I think what struck me about all of those guys was their incredible humility and their incredible, they were gentlemen, you know. I mean, these comes from pretty tough guys, you know. I mean, but in their way that they explained themselves to you and the way they took you into their hearts, it was almost like long lost brothers. And it's a feeling I've never forgotten. And I have woken up in Howling Wolf's house once or twice, you know, which is a trip in itself. But,
well, you know, their music also, I mean, one of the most compelling sections of the many compelling sections in the book, your descriptions of you and Mick and Brian Jones, and, you know, in this little apartment, you know, just kind of studying this music and trying to, you know, to see how you can get inside it and convey it. And, you know, can you talk about the kind of enthusiasm that you guys felt at that time, you know, about each other and about the possibility and about what the music was?
I think we were slightly amazed that we actually found each other and that we could actually sit around and listen to these guys, Jimmy Reed, you know, as I go through the whole litany of Elmore James, and actually begin to figure out, I mean, it's not so much just the musicality of it. It's got to do with being able to express it, to be able to put it over, in other words, and to convey ideas, and especially to convey feeling. And I mean, I've never forgotten what I learned from those guys. And when we started, we were so idealistic, it was ridiculous. You know, all we wanted to do was to turn other people on to those guys. You know, that was the name of the game. It didn't matter. I mean, money, forget about it. It was just this idealistic sense of that everybody should hear this music, and since, you know, they're not going to hear the real guys, we'll do second best, and that was our kind of feeling on it. But it was evangelical almost. You know?